everyone. Welcome to the Wills, Women, and Wealth podcast. I'm Elsa W. Smith, your Maryland estate planning and probate attorney, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. We're here to empower women who value their health, wealth, and the legacies they're creating. This podcast delves into a diverse range of subjects encompassing finance, law, mental and physical health, and beyond. Our commitment is to furnish you with invaluable insights, engaging expert interviews, and enlightening episodes that address your questions on wills, estate planning, and probate matters. Remember, this is your community, and we want to hear from you. Engage with us, ask questions, suggest topics. Let's build a dialogue. Reach out to us on social media or leave us a comment below. Your input fuels the conversations we have. You can find all of our episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for our upcoming content. We appreciate your support. And if you enjoy the podcast, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. Your review helps amplify our reach and brings our content to more listeners. And now let's start the podcast. As we continue to reflect on the impact of Black History Month, I can't help but think about the incredible progress we've made. There was a time in our nation's history, not that long ago, when individuals like me, Black attorneys, were not permitted to practice law. Maryland's legal history is rich with milestones that highlight the resilience and determination of Black attorneys who broke down racial barriers to practice law. Let's take a moment to honor their courage and the paths they paved for those of us who follow. In 1857, Edward Garrison Draper, an 1855 Dartmouth College graduate, was denied admission to the Maryland bar solely because of his race. Despite being, quote unquote, qualified in all respects, Baltimore Superior Court Judge Zacchaeus Collins Lee ruled that Draper could not practice law as he was not a free white citizen of the state. This decision underscored the racial discrimination prevalent at the time. In a historic move, the Supreme Court of Maryland posthumously admitted Draper to the state bar on October 26, 2023, rectifying a 166-year-old injustice. In 1946, Jane Cleo Marshall Lucas became the first African-American woman admitted to practice law in Maryland. Although she chose not to actively practice law, she achieved another historical first as the first female full-time faculty member at Howard University School of Law. Her admission to the Maryland bar and subsequent career in legal education paved the way for future generations of Black woman attorneys in the state. Building upon this legacy, Juanita Jackson Mitchell became the first African-American woman to actively practice law in Maryland in 1950, further breaking racial and gender barriers in the legal profession. These trailblazers not only challenged the status quo, but also laid the foundation for a more inclusive legal community in Maryland. And while the examples I've mentioned are just a few, they represent the many who've shaped the legal landscape in ways that are still felt today. This month, as we celebrate Black History Month, I find myself reflecting on the journey that has brought me here, not just my own, but the paths paved by those who came before me. Their struggles, sacrifices, and triumphs made it possible for me to do this work today. And as a Black woman estate planning attorney in Maryland, I don't just stand on their shoulders, I carry their legacy forward, ensuring that our community's wealth and stories are preserved for generations to come. Their sacrifices opened doors that were once shut, and their resilience reminds me that history isn't just something we remember, it's something we continue to shape. That brings me to a question I want you to consider. How do you intend to make history? When we think of making history, we may often envision public figures, civil rights leaders, entrepreneurs, artists, and trailblazers. But history isn't just made on grand stages. It's made in our everyday choices, in the way we prepare for the future, and in the legacy we leave behind. One of the most powerful ways to make history is through estate planning. Why? Because it's about controlling your narrative, securing your family's future, and breaking cycles of financial instability. So today, we're diving into how you can make history through estate planning. And estate planning isn't just about documents. It's about creating a lasting impact. It's a tool that allows us to break cycles, build generational wealth, and change the financial trajectory of our families. That's why in this first segment, we're talking about one of the biggest barriers our community faces, the wealth gap, and how estate planning can be a powerful tool to close it. For too long, our communities have faced barriers to wealth building. We know the statistics. Black families hold significantly less generational wealth than other demographics. And much of that has to do with a lack of access to financial resources, discriminatory policies, and yes, the absence of estate planning. I wrote about this in my 2021 article, Estate Planning and Changing the Generational Narrative in Families of Color. The site will be in the show notes. Here's the hard truth. 70% of Black Americans don't have a will or estate plan. Without a plan, state intestacy laws decide who gets what, often leading to family disputes, unnecessary court costs, and loss of wealth. And without a plan, wealth can disappear in one generation. Making history means refusing to let that cycle continue. It means sitting down, making decisions about your assets, and ensuring that your children, grandchildren, and loved ones inherit what you've worked so hard for. I want you to think about the sacrifices of those who came before you, your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. Many of them didn't have the tools or the knowledge we have today, but you do. And that means you have the power to change the trajectory of your family's future. And with that power comes the ability to make choices that will echo through the generations. Estate planning isn't about just filling out forms or signing documents. It's a statement of power, of reclaiming what was once denied. Historically, Black families have been denied control over their wealth and property, facing everything from stolen land to discriminatory lending practices. But today, estate planning gives you the chance to take back control and write your own legacy. A will ensures that your assets go to the people and causes you care about. A trust can protect your assets from probate and ensure long-term stability for your family. A power of attorney and advance directive ensure that no one, not the courts, not the government, makes decisions about your health and finances without your say. We must shift our mindset Estate planning is not something we do later or when we have more. It's something we do now to secure what we have and to make history on our own terms. Now that we understand why estate planning is a critical piece of our legacy, let's talk about action steps. Here's how you can make history this Black History Month. Educate yourself and your family. So that means having conversations about estate planning at the dinner table. Share resources with your loved ones. Then start the process. That means if you don't have a will, now is the time to make one. Meet with an estate planning attorney in your jurisdiction. Don't wait for a crisis. If you already have a plan, review it. Life changes, and so should your estate plan. Next, incorporate philanthropy and community building. That means consider leaving a portion of your estate to a cause that uplifts the Black community, scholarships, organizations, or initiatives that align with your values. And then lastly, encourage others to act. Share your journey on social media. Challenge your friends and family to get their plans in place. Making history starts with one decision, one step, one commitment to securing your legacy. I invite you to take our estate planning readiness quiz. It's one of the many free resources we have on our website at elsawsmithlaw.com. The link will be in the show notes. As we honor Black History Month, remember that history isn't just about what's been done. It's about what you choose to do right now. Estate planning isn't just a legal task. It's an act of love, an act of resistance, and an act of empowerment. So I challenge you, how will you make history this month? If you're ready to take that first step, let's talk. Visit our website, schedule a complimentary 15-minute call with a member of our team, and let's build your legacy together. Thank you for joining me today on this episode of the Wills, Women, and Wealth podcast. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone you love. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, and I'll see you next time. Until then, stay informed, stay empowered, and take control of your legacy.